So I just wanted to precede this video by saying that whoever's watching this, wherever you are, whatever your life circumstances are, that you are loved and you are love itself. You are the universe, and I wish you nothing but deep peace and deep contentment, deep fulfillment and serenity. Hello. It's cold, so I'm going to put my hat on. Alright, so I'm going to need to keep an eye on the time here. So, I was talking to someone in the comments and the issue came up, or the topic came up about meaning and purpose, and I thought that was a good enough topic to make a video on. Meaning and purpose in life, and what that means and what that doesn't mean, and how awakening changes that. There were some other comments which on my videos which made me realise some of the dangers of videos like this, some of the dangers of me posting videos like this, and the way in which they can be received by some people. And I say it all the time, and I'll say it again, and I'll make it as clear as I possibly can, and that what I'm talking about here isn't what you think I'm talking about. So if you're listening to this and you think I know what he's talking about, that's a misinterpretation. Ultimately, what I'm talking about is not what you think I'm talking about. It's nothing you can think about. If you're watching this and you assume that I'm talking about something out there separate from you, or if you think I'm talking about a secret knowledge, that's not what I'm talking about. There's no secret knowledge that I'm sharing here. Even worse, if you think I'm talking directly to you about something separate from us that we share, that's not what I'm talking about. Essentially, I'm not talking about anything. That's why it's so difficult, and because the way in which I speak talking about non-duality is so vague. There's not a thing that I'm saying this is the definitive thing that I'm talking about, because I'm not talking about anything specifically or objectively. It can be that it would be easy for someone watching this to impute their own meaning into what I'm talking about, because I'm not talking about anything that's very vague, and say he's talking to me about this, or he's talking about this, and that you will impute something of your own value, something that only exists in your mind, into what I'm talking about, and that's not what I'm talking about here. It would be easy to do that. So there's this blank space, fill it with your own thing, fill it with your own assumption about the thing that I'm talking about. That's incorrect, that's a misinterpretation. And if you're watching these videos and you're doing that, all I can do is tell you that that's not what I'm talking about. If you watch these videos and what you feel after listening to them, or whilst listening to them, is something like fear, or discontentment, or in the sense of thoughts, in the sense of the mind, if it gives you mind feel that creates a sense of separation, a sense of fear, a sense of paranoia, something like that, then this may be the wrong video to be watching. For those who watch this and they know, I'm going to say what I'm talking about, right? But it's not a thing. It's a quality within yourself, an expansive, peaceful, serene quality within yourself, and they've touched into that. Any subsequent fear that comes in whatever form is peripheral to that. What I'm talking about, if anything, is peace. Peace, contentment. Peace and contentment. Wholeness. Non-separation. I'm not talking about a secret knowledge that I have, because I don't have any secret knowledge. I wish I did. That's it. So if you watch this and it gives your mind fuel to thinking in the way of, there's something that I don't have, or there's something I do have that other people don't have, or something like that. That, in a sense, very much as a mind distortion, a distortion of the mind, then that's not what I'm pointing to. That may be a side effect of, there might be fear reactions as a side effect of meditation and self-inquiry, but you don't run with it and create a narrative. I'm also not talking about a narrative. This isn't a narrative. If anything, I'm talking about the opposite, the absence of a narrative, the absence of specifics or a story. If you're getting a story from this, ultimately, I know I talk in a narrative way. I'll just say this now. Ultimately, that's what I'm not pointing. I'm not pointing to a story. I'm pointing to the standing still within the story, such that the story is irrelevant, such that there isn't a story or meaning. There's no meaning. I'm not talking about something means something. I'm not there's no meaning value ultimately in what I'm saying. What I'm pointing to has no meaning. It means nothing. There's no meaning at all. The absence of there having to be meaning. Other than that, I don't think there's any other way I can get this point across. And the danger is that I suppose that if someone were to watch this who has let's say a mental health problem, or a tendency towards psychosis or something like that, it can potentially not be that helpful at all. So at the same time, there's nothing I can do about that. I don't have any responsibility to help someone like that, or try and control how that person interprets something, or try and control that person's perception. Nor is it even possible to do that. Nor is it even sensible for me to suggest that my interpretation of how to do that is correct or not further damaging. So, with that disclaimer out the road, also, like I said, this is about peace. This is about contentment. This is about non-separation, non-conflict between me and you, non-conflict between the world and me. Peace, complete peace. Complete peace and unity and love. That's all this is about. If you're gonna give it names and value, that's it. Anything that's not that, I'm not interested in, unless someone specifically solicits my talking about it. Even then, the answer is waking up. The answer is maturity. The answer is growing up, and emotional maturity and spiritual maturity. Anyway, so meaning. Someone asked about, has awakening revealed a life's purpose? How has awakening changed the meaning of things? And maybe, I think it was motivation for things in life. And if anything, it has revealed the absence of meaning, in the sense that this individual, this person would think about it. Meaning is a thought. Meaning is an interpretation. Meaning is from a separate point of view. I think this means something. Or I can stand back from reality to assess the meaning of this. Meaning is adding a value to this. If anything, awakening shows that there doesn't have to be a meaning, and there's freedom in there not having to be a meaning. Meaning is limiting, quite limiting, and a lot of my problems came from my meaning, my interpretation. This means this for me, this means this about someone else, and so on. So you can see that meaning is a limitation of reality. Ultimately, there isn't meaning. Meaning is a limitation of freedom. Ultimately, this is too free to be limited by meaning. Meaning is a filter, perceptual filter. There are a few ways of thinking about this. So, for example, there are things that, if I look in retrospect in my life, I could easily say things happened for a reason to bring about awakening. And when I look back, it seems like, for the mind, it seems like there was a lot of reason and meaning and purpose in the way things unfolded, and that's interesting. But ultimately, this recognition is a recognition that transcends that. Let me try and talk about this. So, you can only think about this, but the reality of it isn't something that you can think about. As usual, disclaimer alert. Right. This probably isn't going to make much sense, but so why is it I decide to make these videos? Why is it that I decide to make this video? This video is in response to whoever posted some comments on my channel asking about a specific thing. Why did the person who inspired this video post that comment asking about that specific thing? I don't know, but it could be something like another seeming reason triggered that interest and question. So you see this seeming chain of events, causes based on conditions. It seems to me like I made the choice to make this video. But for example, in this theoretical mind model, if this person didn't post that comment, would I have made this video responding to it? Probably not. So see how my seeming agency and free will has been influenced by just this one theoretical chain of events. Now push that out into absolutely everything in the universe, without limits. You can see how nothing you do is of agency. There's doing. There's no one choosing to do it. There's the illusion of that. There's the choosing to do it, but there's no one choosing to do it, if that makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but so with that in mind, talking about meaning, you can see how this narrative that we tell ourselves about the meaning for things starts to become blurred, and you can see how the purpose and the meaning that we impute onto our perception of events is minuscule, is conditional, is of the mind. You can see how reality is how do I put this? I can't really explain. Like, I move my arm, the universe moves my arm. The universe and my arm moving aren't separate. I speak these words, the universe speaks these words. Alternate reality, the universe, non-dual reality isn't separate from this speaking these words. It just happens. There isn't necessarily a meaning behind it. In fact, that's what the freedom is. That's where the freedom is. So, for example, I mentioned in the comments I used to be a competitive bodybuilder. It's silly thinking about it now, but at the time, I was passionate about it, and I was always pursuing this goal. It was very competitive, and all of my physical exercise and diet was geared towards achieving something. Something of which the rules were so objective and arbitrary that is questionable in the first place. So there was a rigid framework that I would follow that dictated my actions based on this future goal. And parts of that I didn't enjoy, parts of that caused me suffering. But what didn't cause me suffering was in the moment, the physical expression of it. After awakening, these frameworks drop, and I talk about the zone or the sweet spot in sports and performance a lot, and not everyone's going to get that, but there's a great satisfaction, contentment and flow in doing something for the sake of doing it, without the person who's controlling the actions with the reason for doing it. So now when I exercise, it's a free expression. There is no rigid framework controlling it. There's no purpose and meaning to it whatsoever. If anyone has ever done performance or dance, or you see the interpretive dance and stuff like that, the interpretation can be anything, but it's just flowing in the spontaneity of the moment without reason, and that's extremely enjoyable, and that's the flow state that I talk about. In that flow state, there is the absence of meaning, and that's what's so free about it. That's what's so enjoyable about it. So now there's reason and there's cognition. So if I'm going to work on the car, I know that the size of this wrench based on the size of this bolt, there's meaning there, there's a connection there. But it's a functional tool. There isn't a profound idea about it, like there might be a profound idea about my life's goal, my life's purpose. And without that, which is always based in time, projecting into future or past, there's more access to this immediate, intense, beautiful presence. The meaning is all here. The meaning isn't on a timeline. If there is any meaning, and the meaning is this, and it speaks for itself without having to create a meaning in my head to add value to it, if that makes sense. As in the quest for meaning and purpose is being answered constantly to an infinite degree in these senses, in this moment, in this, nothing but this. And that's all, that's more than enough. In fact, it's infinite. There is, I can't even say that there's a meaning behind these videos and why I make them. I didn't start this channel with the idea of talking about this to help people. If I'm honest, I didn't do it for that. I don't know why. I just had the motivation to start filming and talking, which I would never have imagined me doing something like this. Pretty weird, but just like I didn't get into the career that I'm in. I thought that I wanted to get into the career I was in to help people, but that wasn't the whole picture. And there are plenty of countless instances where me being in the career that I'm in has resulted in a mutual benefit between me and the people that I work with. So that you could say there's a meaning there, but it all unfolds spontaneously in the moment. Any idea about how I can help people that comes into my head, I couldn't believe, because who am I to say that I know how to help people based on what I said at the start of this video? Who am I to assume that I know what's best for people? I don't. All I know is this, and it unfolds the way it does, and it's perfect. And someone asked about the relative life. Yeah, so relatively I still do the things I do. I don't know why. I wouldn't say that there's a motivation in the same way as there was before, but it seems that motivation for me was a resistance to something in large part. Yeah, I'm married, I have children, I'm a parent, I work in management, I work in the fitness industry, so I'm doing something I enjoy. I'm doing something that requires responsibility, critical thinking, interpersonal skills on a high level. I manage my family life daily. These things all continue to happen, and I never had the urge to become monastic or exit this world and this life, because I think that would be based on a resistance, for me at least, to it, and that just never came. That motivation never came about. Life continues to unfold in this stillness within itself, effortlessly, and things do change. Like the motivation that I had to compete in bodybuilding was based on seeking identity, seeking self-validation, resistance to the current conditions of what is, resistance to myself as I am right now. It was all based on a linear timeline, and that's all gone now, so I've lost the motivation to continue pursuing that, at least in the way I was before. But any exercise I do now is much more free and much more enjoyable. because I'm not the one controlling it, I'm not the one doing it. It's a spontaneous expression of the entire universe manifesting in this moment all the time, and it's perfect. So anyway, I'm running out of time. That'll do for now, and I'll talk to you next time. Any questions, just pop them in the comments below.